Cassie Reynolds stepped off the Greyhound bus into the sleepy town of Raven Hollow. The streets were eerily quiet, dimly lit by flickering street lamps, the fog curling around her ankles like restless spirits. She clutched a worn notebook, her brother Dylan's handwriting scrawled across the pages, each word soaked in anxiety. "Where are you?" Locals glanced at her with thinly veiled suspicion. A hunched old man approached, his eyes clouded but sharp as broken glass. Don't pick up after midnight," he croaked. Cassie forced a laugh, masking the chill crawling down her spine. Something in his tone made her stomach knot. A warning, not a joke. The town was strange, almost theatrical in its decay. Doors bolted from the inside, windows plastered with yellowing newspaper, and an abandoned radio station at the edge of Main Street, the place Dylan had last been seen. Cassie pushed open the heavy door. Dust coated every surface, mixing with an underlying stench she couldn't place. On the microphone lay a folded note. "If you hear it ring, don't answer." I tried. They came. Cassie's pulse raced, but curiosity outweighed caution. She switched on the microphone. Silence. Then the phone on the desk rang. Cord severed, receiver dangling, its shrill tone slicing through the stillness. She lifted it to her ear. A familiar, childlike voice trembled through the line. "Cassie, you shouldn't have come." Shadows slithered across the walls, moving against the grain of the old wooden panels. The wind rattled broken windows. Dylan's voice came again, muffled, as if trapped beneath the floorboards. "They're here. Look what I left behind." Cassie found Dylan's journal tucked in a drawer. Its pages were bizarre, different handwriting styles interlaced, one her brother's, the other nearly illegible, chronicling the town's nightly disappearances and voices that no one else hears. Marked by time after midnight, 12:15 a.m., first gone. 12:42 a.m., second. 1:03 a.m., calling my name. The first 24 hours in Raven Hollow were a nightmare. Shadows moved independently, doors creaked open on their own, and phantom calls whispered threats across her skin. By day, the town smiled with quaint American charm. By night, it was a trap for the living. Her attention snagged on a narrow alley just past the old diner. A figure in a dark trench coat held a glowing red phone. He whispered to someone, or something, and vanished into the fog. Cassie's instincts screamed to follow. Cassie followed the figure down the alley, fog curling around her like a living thing. The diner's neon sign flickered overhead, buzzing in an almost musical rhythm. She saw his silhouette vanish behind a corner. Her heart thumped like a drumbeat, each pulse a warning. Inside the diner, she found it abandoned, but the radio in the corner was on, crackling. A distorted voice whispered, "Did you bring her?" She shouldn't have come. Cassie froze. That voice, she knew it. Dylan, but not. It was as if his words were bent through another world. Suddenly, the lights went out. Total darkness. Her phone buzzed. A message. 12:57 a.m., we're watching. She bolted outside, only to see the street empty, except for the red glow at the end of the alley. The trench-coated figure held the phone up, almost like a lantern, then disappeared into the fog. Cassie ran toward the abandoned radio station, the only safe place she thought she had. Inside, she found another journal, older, its pages filled with warnings. They come through the call. They don't need hands. They don't need eyes. They only need fear. She flipped a page. Bloodstains. Not old. Fresh. The words were scribbled in panic. 12:43, she answered. 12:45. Scream cut short. 12:47. Gone. Outside, the town's silence became suffocating. Every shadow seemed alive, stretching unnaturally. Cassie heard a soft laugh, playful and sinister, echoing from a side street. She followed it, stepping over broken bottles and debris. Then she saw the first victim, a man sprawled against a lamppost, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream, his phone still in hand, screen glowing red. Cassie's stomach churned. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. From behind her, a whisper. "Welcome to Raven Hollow, Cassie. You're next if you call." She spun. No one there. Only fog. Only the feeling of being watched. Her phone rang again. Red glow. She wanted to throw it, smash it, destroy it. But the curiosity, the need to find Dylan was stronger. Picking up, the voice came clear, soft, and terrifyingly calm. "Cassie, follow the lights. They lead to the truth. But some truths, you'll wish you never found." The air grew colder. Shadows slithered along walls. The phone buzzed again. She wasn't alone. Someone was breathing right behind her. She turned. Nothing. Then, a flash. The figure in the trench coat, his face pale, twisted into a grin, vanished before her eyes. Cassie ran into the radio station basement. Walls lined with old wiring, broken equipment, and strange symbols scrawled in chalk. Her flashlight flickered over a series of phones, all glowing red, all off the hook. She picked one up. Dial tone. Then, silence. Then a whisper, barely audible. "You shouldn't have come. But now, it's your turn." Cassie realized the town wasn't haunted by ghosts. It was haunted by calls. The calls themselves carried something alive, something hungry. And Dylan was somehow inside it. Cassie barely had time to catch her breath in the radio station basement. Her flashlight trembled in her hands, casting jagged shadows that crawled like living things across the cracked concrete walls. Every wire, every piece of broken equipment seemed to hum with anticipation, whispering her name. Then she saw it. A phone, glowing red, on a dusty old table. It wasn't ringing, but it was calling her. Cassie hesitated, heart hammering. Her instincts screamed to leave, but the thought of Dylan trapped in this nightmare pushed her forward. She picked up the receiver. The voice on the other end was distorted, high-pitched, almost playful. "Cassie, you've been such a good listener. But listening isn't enough. You must see." A flash of movement behind her made her spin. Nothing. Just shadows stretching along the walls. Then a whisper right in her ear, cold as ice. "You shouldn't have come." Cassie stumbled backward, tripping over cables. Her flashlight fell, spinning across the floor. In its flickering beam, she saw the first real horror. The trench-coated figure, standing silently at the top of the basement stairs, face hidden. He lifted a hand, and dozens of old phones on the table lit up, all glowing red, all ringing simultaneously. The sound was deafening, a cacophony of distorted voices, screams, laughter, sobs, warnings. Cassie covered her ears, but one voice broke through. Dylan's. Clear. Panicked. "Cassie, don't. They're watching." Then silence. Suddenly, one of the phones flew off the table, smashing against the wall. Out of nowhere, the figure lunged. Cassie screamed, ducking just in time as the figure vanished into thin air, leaving only the echo of his sinister laugh. Cassie realized the basement was a trap. Each phone was a portal, each call a doorway to the city's dark past. Dylan hadn't just vanished. He had been pulled into the network, the living calls that fed on fear. Shaking, she dug deeper into Dylan's notes. A map fell out, showing the old neighborhoods, marked with red circles, the locations of every disappearance over the last 50 years. Her pulse quickened. The pattern was perfect. The town was built to trap them. Then came the knock. Software gentle, almost polite. Cassie froze. "Who's there?" A child's voice, sweet, eerie. "Do you want to play?" From the shadows, a girl emerged. Pale, black hair in a messy braid, eyes glowing faintly red. She held a phone like a toy. Cassie stepped back. "Stay away. Who are you?" The girl smiled. "I am the caller's apprentice. Dylan played with us once. Now it's your turn." Before Cassie could react, the girl pressed the phone to her ear. The world went white. A vision. Dylan, trapped, screaming silently in a room full of glowing phones, shadows stretching over him like spiderwebs. Cassie clawed at the receiver, desperate to pull him back. A second later, a scream shattered the basement walls. The girl was gone. Cassie turned. The figure in the trench coat was now behind her, inches away. Cold breath on her neck. "You can't save him, but you can join him." Cassie bolted. Up the stairs, through the station, into the foggy streets. Every alley looked identical, every shadow a predator. She realized the town itself had become a maze, designed to break her mind and feed the caller's hunger. She stumbled into the diner, neon flickering, chairs overturned. The red glow was everywhere, phones ringing, faces appearing in windows, whispers in her ears. She knew she couldn't escape, but she had to try. Then a note pinned to the counter. "If you answer, you die. If you don't, you live, but only in the dark." Cassie clenched her fists. The next step could either save Dylan or end her forever. Cassie ran through the fog-choked streets of Raven Hollow, every step echoing against the silent buildings. The town had changed, the streets twisted impossibly, alleys looping back on themselves. It was no longer a town, it was a trap. Her phone vibrated, red glow. She hesitated. "Dylan," the voice came, distorted but urgent. "Cassie, I'm trapped in the station basement. They are multiplying. The calls, they're alive." Cassie's mind raced. She knew she had to confront the caller directly. The old map from Dylan's journal showed a cluster of circles in the abandoned industrial district, a place she had avoided until now. But there was no choice. Every street brought new horrors, mannequins with glowing red eyes, shadows that whispered secrets, and fleeting glimpses of the trench-coated figure, always watching, always disappearing before she could reach him. Finally, she arrived at the largest warehouse. Broken windows, rusted gates, a chain-link fence swinging with the wind. Inside, dozens of phones lined the walls, each one ringing in a different tone. The air hummed with electricity, voices overlapping, screaming, laughing. Cassie stepped carefully, clutching Dylan's journal like a talisman. A whisper rose above the chaos. "Welcome, Cassie. Your brother has been a very naughty boy. But you will play." The trench-coated figure emerged from the shadows, finally unmasked. A man with pale, almost translucent skin, eyes black as voids. He smiled, slow and sinister. "I'm the caller, and this is my orchestra." Phones flew from walls, circling Cassie like predatory birds. Voices called her name, begged, taunted, some her brothers. Cassie dodged, ducked, and finally reached the central phone. The one Dylan's voice was strongest through. She grabbed it. The world around her twisted, warping into Dylan's prison. A room of endless glowing phones, shadows crawling along the floor, reaching for him. He looked up, eyes wide with terror. "Cassie, help me!" The caller's laugh filled the warehouse. "Every call is a choice. Answer wrong, and you join him. Answer right, and you might survive." Cassie realized the truth. The caller didn't just want fear. He fed on the decisions we make in terror. She needed to outthink him, use the calls against him. She remembered Dylan's notes, the pattern. Red glow meant danger, but blinking green on one hidden phone meant escape. She faked answering the wrong phones, let the caller focus his attacks there, then reached the green one. She picked it up. Everything stopped. Silence. The shadows froze. Dylan appeared, pulled free by her hand. They ran together, but the warehouse had one final trick. The caller manifested physically, blocking the exit, grin wider than humanly possible. Cassie shouted, "You want me? Take me!" She smashed Dylan's journal into the caller. The pages caught fire instantly, flames spreading unnaturally fast. The caller screamed, a sound no human could make, and dissolved into shadows, sucked back into the phones. The remaining phones shattered, the red glow fading to black. Cassie and Dylan stumbled out, covered in ash and sweat. The industrial district was silent now, fog lifting slightly. But the town, Raven Hollow, felt alive, watching, waiting. Cassie and Dylan stumbled into the streets of Raven Hollow, the first light of dawn barely piercing the lingering fog. For a moment, the town seemed normal, but something gnawed at her. The silence felt too perfect, too artificial. "Cassie, did we escape?" Dylan asked, his voice shaky, exhaustion and terror tangled together. Cassie shook her head. "I think we stopped him. But the town, it's still alive, watching." They made their way to the center of town, where the old clock tower stood, its hands frozen at midnight. Cassie noticed something odd. Every phone, every shadow, every whisper, they all led back here. The caller's lair wasn't the warehouse, it was the town itself. A sudden ringing erupted from the clock tower. They ran up the creaking stairs. At the top, the caller waited. Less human now, more entity. His face a shifting mask of every person who had disappeared over 50 years. "You think you've won? You've only delayed the inevitable," the caller hissed. "Fear is eternal, and so am I." Cassie realized the truth. Dylan had been absorbed into the town, becoming part of the caller's network of voices. Every phone call, every disappearance, was a fragment of human consciousness feeding the town's power. "Then we'll fight back," Cassie shouted. She smashed the last phone she held, the one Dylan's voice had guided her to. A shockwave rippled through the tower, cracking walls, throwing shadows like leaves in a storm. The caller screamed, a sound of 1,000 voices, before dissolving into nothingness. Dylan appeared before her, but something was off. His eyes were clear, but a faint, eerie glow remained. He smiled, but it wasn't entirely him. "Cassie, we're free, aren't we?" he whispered. Cassie nodded, relief washing over her, until she looked down at the street below. The townspeople were gone, windows empty. Silence. And then, a single phone rang, red glow piercing the fog. Cassie froze. The voice? Dylan's, but distorted. "Cassie, don't hang up." Her heart stopped. She realized with horror, destroying the caller didn't end the town's hunger. It had only begun to rebuild itself. The network, the calls, the shadows, they were eternal. And somehow, Dylan, he had become part of it. The final shot. Cassie drops the receiver. The screen fades to black. A whisper echoes. Raven Hollow never forgets.